Alright guys, what is up? It's Mark aka BrawlerMark. Welcome back. Sorry if there's a little noise in the background. It's super hot here where I am in Canada and I have to keep this fan running or I'm gonna literally die. Today we're starting another episode of Road to Master and today will be Flank Edition.
Begin to show.
With flanks, to be honest, I think flanks are the easiest way to push to Master. And the reason why I'm going to say that is because flanks are the most self-reliant characters. In the background, I'll probably have some gameplay, a little bit of Sky most likely. That's who I use the most to push to Master. What I say most self-reliant, the way I feel, front lines, you kind of do sometimes heavily rely on having a good healer. And with damage characters, you sometimes rely on having good front line to be able to defend you while you're attacking because the damage characters don't have the most mobility. Flank characters, all of them seem to mostly have really high mobility, and for that reason they're easiest at being able to survive in fights. You can always escape at any time and you can also push at any time. You could chase down characters, you could finish off characters that are dying, and there's just a lot of things that you can do as flank characters. With flanks, you also have to know there are certain ones that are a lot better than others when it comes to mobility. Like Xin is good when it comes to mobility because he can dash really quick with his attacks, but at the same time it's your attacks that you're wasting up and you're not going to want to be using your ammo just to move around the map. You're going to want those to be able to hit people and kill people. So with this guide I kind of want to focus more on which flanks are better to use in which situations. When you have your general flanks, I think the best three, I would say not best three, but probably easiest three to use for almost every flank situation is probably going to be Sky, maybe Maeve, and probably Lex. I feel like all three of those, they have really good mobility and ways to move around. Lex is probably the least of the three, only because Lex only has one way to move. Sky and Maeve both have two ways to increase their mobility, and that makes them very dominant when it comes to being a really good flank. Eevee is up there, but Eevee's playstyle is a lot more different than all of those characters that I just mentioned, and Xin will also fall in slightly a category with Eevee where he's a lot different as a flank, because sometimes with Xin you can't really push characters because he's so open to being damaged when he rushes in, and he does have two abilities that both block him from receiving damage mostly. Counter you still can be damaged in certain situations, but his other move, it completely blocks him, nullifies him from being able to take damage, but he still is very susceptible to receiving damage when he just rushes in and does his attack. So for that reason you're going to want to play him a lot different than the other two. With Sky, that is who I use the most. Maeve is the same way. No, and Droxus is also a character I'd put in there because he does have three of his flash step things, but Androxus is also a little bit hard to use. With those characters, your main focus is going to be in fights to take out the damage characters. Damage characters, they have really low mobility, it's hard for them to escape. The characters that you should be attacking the least, I would say, are healers, and the reason is most healers have really good escapes. The main ones I'll say, Grok, I'm saying Eris, I'm not really remembering her name. The mage girl, her name's not coming to my head right now. And also, you also have Ying. Ying can throw her clone across the map and literally teleport to it at any time. And for that reason, she can drop multiple clones, dodge it multiple times. And if she's not moving that much, you also sometimes will get confused and not know if you're hitting a clone or not. And it's a lot of wasted ammo, a lot of wasted time. So you don't want to really be targeting those characters. The frontline characters are the second characters you probably don't want to target, but you will sometimes, and the only reason is when they're really weak or they're being aggressively pushed by like a damage character on your team or another frontline, you can also come in and help out. So for that reason you'll be hitting them a little bit. You also don't really want to push other flanks unless you've seen them use up their resources. And what do I mean by that? You're facing an Eevee and she uses her ice prison thing. She basically has one teleport left. If she teleports, then that's when you should just be aggressively attacking her. If you see Androxus do his reversal where he pretty much blocks all damage, if he does that, that's when you push him. His flickers don't make him move far enough for most flanks to be able to not catch up with him. So with those characters, that's how you want to push them. Your main thing is damage characters. There aren't really any damage characters who can get away besides probably Shaolin, and he doesn't have a lot of health, so you can still push him, and if he starts moving away, you can probably leave him alone a little bit. But besides him, there aren't really many damage characters who can escape from fights, and there are also ones that you can just push even if they're in the middle of ults, like Tyra's like that. If you can catch her off guard when she just ults, you can kill her pretty easily. So with characters like that, that's who you're going to want to be pushing. Kinessa, I feel, is your main priority. If you're a flank, always take out Kinessa. If there's a Skye or a Maeve on your team, you could probably leave her up to them. But sometimes I feel like in Master, pushing to Master, especially if you're pushing alone, it is basically up to you as flank to carry your team. And carrying your team will involve taking out the highest priority characters. The thing that you're going to want to notice the most, as a flank, if I ever choose Skye, or sometimes I use Lexa every now and then, Maeve every now and then, I like to look at that screen in the beginning when it shows all the 5 characters on each side. That's when you want to be looking at how their team setup is, and you want to be choosing which character you're going to focus the most. Sometimes you'll be choosing between 2 characters, which 2 characters you'll be focusing. Another character who also I can slightly say is in the almost flank category is Cassie. If you're using Cassie, you can also slightly play like a flank, where you can get in good damage from a distance like Maeve, but you also have your dodge roll to close in the gap if your opponent's trying to escape. With characters like that, you can also be hunting down characters like Kinessa and stuff like that. Kinessa is very annoying, especially if you're in early ranks and you don't know how to deal with her. She can just do a lot of damage to your team, and a lot of times your team won't understand that she's a character that needs to be focused. If I look in the map, so pretty much my average match as a Skye, when I see the setup and I see their 5 characters, if I see Kinessa, that's #1 priority. I make sure I'm always killing her as fast as I can all the time. If she's in spawn camping, you can leave her alone, don't worry about her. She can't really do that much damage because she can't hit through walls anymore. There was a time when she could, and it was very annoying, but now she can't, so you can still creep behind walls and hide, and it'll force her to eventually come out of there, and then you can take her out. I want to say my second priority, if you have characters like Barrack on the other team, you want to be taking out their turrets and anything like that. If their team is almost basically dead, you want to be taking out any remaining shields that are just sitting on the stage, and just anything like that that could just be an issue. You don't want to aim for oh, it's Cirrus that I was talking about, but that was the healer that I was trying to say. You don't want to be going after Cirrus because she can also just disappear and just vanish off the screen. But pretty much you don't want to be attacking Anara's wall. That's almost a waste of an attack because it goes away eventually, and things like that. You just want to be making sure, like, characters that mostly Barrack who could drop turrets. That's probably my second priority. If there isn't a Barrack on the team, my second priority is usually attacking whichever character is weak and just finishing them off. And then you just go for helping out teammates. You pretty much want to double team anyone who is available to be double teamed. If you see your damage character, you have a Bomb King attacking a Fernando, you want to be behind Fernando taking your shots in while he has to shield up and things like that. And pretty much with characters like Maeve and Skye, you can literally rinse and repeat over and over and over again. Buck is like that too. You could just get your attacks and kill who you want to kill, and then kind of sit back and wait for them to respawn and just do it all over again. Because usually by the time, if you have pretty much what I'll call 3-step like plan in your head of how you're going to attack, like for me what Skye said, first step kill Kinessa, second step take out turrets or attack weakened characters, and third step double team anyone that I can double team. By the time step 3 is done, your step 1 should be back and ready to go again. Kinessa could probably spawn back and is probably trying to move in to get positioning again, and that's when you rush in to kill her again, and then you're back to your cycle over and over and over. And that's pretty much a landslide victory after that. Characters like Evie, she's a little different. I would say as a thing, she is very strong if you know how to use her, but very weak if you don't because she has low health. With her, you don't want to be rushing straight into the fight. You want to kind of be going in from the side and doing your little pokes. Her normal attack is actually her most powerful asset if you ask me. just because it slows them and it's literally always available to you. So you just want to be getting your pokes in as much as possible. With Eevee, I would say there are Eevees that can get a lot of kills, but I wouldn't say that's Eevee's focus. Your focus is to get as many assists as you can. You want to be slowing characters your opponent doesn't have the chance to escape from fights, and you always do because you can teleport. And when you can't teleport, you have your Ice Shield that can make you immune to all damage and still give you back your teleport. So she's just always there to pretty much annoy your team. One of the main things to do as a flank character, I think, is harassment. You always want to be harassing people. There's a character, especially choosing one character. If there isn't a Canessa, sometimes I'll choose Cassie and things like that. You always want to have someone in your head who you're like, this character, especially if you see a weak person on their team that isn't playing as up to par as everyone else, you just want to be harassing that character. Make them feel like they want to rage quit the game, because you're just always there to kill them as fast as you can, like as soon as they spawn back. Victor's like that too. Victor can't really do very high damage unless the player using him is high runed or very skilled, and that's characters you want to just be attacking and making sure they don't have any chance. Thing is, fall into that category too. Strix, he's very hard for like weak players to use, so you want to be targeting those characters, making them feel like it's hard for them to actually play the game because you're just always in their face. With Xin is the other character I was saying is a little weird to use. With Xin, you always want to be pretty much looking to be a finisher more than a flanker. You're going to be looking for mostly lower health characters, not completely low like one hit kill. That's nice to find, but you want to be looking for possibly 2-hit kill characters, and you use your first attack just to get closer to them, and then 2 attacks to kill them, and then probably an ability to be able to remove yourself from being able to take damage and escaping the fight. And that way you pretty much make it so that your teammates are less dealing with 5v5 and are now dealing with 5v4, 5v3, and that makes it so that you can still landslide victory them, because you're slowly just always making sure that they're at lower amount of characters than you. A lot of people, even in master rank now where I'm at, they don't know to group up, and when they respawn they'll try to come in one at a time to just stand on the point for half a second for no reason, and that's your time to just be making sure you wipe them out. Xin is a very good character once you take out 1 or 2 people and your opponent's team doesn't know to group up. They'll be coming in random numbers, and that's your chance to always just be continuously take them out, level up fast. So for that reason, I would also say if you like characters like that and like how I'm describing him, that's probably who you're going to want to go with as a flank. Xin is also very anti-flank, so your opponent's flank, Xin is very good at taking out almost all of them. Maeve can't really handle him. She can slow you and escape, which is her probably strongest escape to Xin, but because you have your attack that gives you momentum, it doesn't really matter how fast you walk. Sky, if she turns invisible, you could guess which direction she's going and your attack is wide enough to hit her. Usually, unless she's very smart in how she moves once she turns invisible. And with Androxus, his reversal can't actually stop your attack because you go basically through him. So he's really good for all those situations. Eevee too, because a lot of them have slows and stuff. The only character you're not going to want to go against for being an anti-flank is Buck, because Buck could just one-shot you, and that will also go for every other flank. You're not going to want to go against enemy Bucks. You're not going to want to be going against Makoa. You're not going to be want to going against Barrack. Those guys have very strong damage from up close, and most flanks have to hit from up close except for Maeve, where you could kind of have that distance damage. And if you're using Cassie as like a semi-flank kind of thing, you can also get your damage in from a distance, but you don't want to be facing any of those characters. You have really high mobility against them, so you don't have to worry about them really, except for Buck. He can jump in your face at any time. But everyone else, that Makoa and Barrack, you can always run away from them. So don't be afraid to do that if they're challenging you. Sometimes Barrack, he can capture you with his ult, and if that happens, usually if you're Sky, you can sometimes escape if you turn invisible and he's not smart enough to know where you are. But most times that is an instant death for you. So just always, you want to keep your distance as much as you can. Even if you can't get hits in on them, it's not important. Focus on the players that you can kill, and if that's the last character left on this screen, then you can go for him, but I wouldn't prioritize him. in any way at all, that'd probably be the last character I would say to go after if you're a flank. But that's probably going to be it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed this, if you guys thought this was a good video, don't forget to like it, thumbs up, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.
Subscribe, everybody, subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe, everybody, subscribe.